Hey guys, it's Lily. This is Legit Nutrition Hawaii. And even though I'm in Hawaii, it's really cold here today. And I don't have any bananas, so I had to make frozen banana ice cream, and now I'm cold on the inside too. But perhaps it's appropriate that I am wrapped up in a comforter and curled up on my favorite chair for today's video, because there have been times in my life where I have been so depressed and anxious that was all I could fathom doing with my time. When I think about the subject of depression and anxiety, especially in the realm of weight loss, one phrase comes to mind, and that phrase is frantic inertia. So rates of depression and anxiety are just absolutely surging. The number of people who currently report feelings of depression or anxiety is it's astronomically high. And you would never know it looking at all the happy pictures on Facebook, but I assure you, it's true. Because currently, enough antidepressants are sold in the United States to medicate everyone. Every man, woman, and child. Everyone. Now, in case you don't know, a lot of psychotropic drugs are capable of producing just like astronomically, unbelievably high weight gain. Anywhere from like 10 to hundreds of pounds. But that, along with whether or not antipsychotic and antidepressant drugs are like actually effective, spoiler, they're not. It's just like the subject of a whole other video. So in this video, I'm going to try to focus on non-drug related weight gain and weight loss, as well as non-drug related management of depression and anxiety, which is a huge topic in and of itself. But this is not going to be like a quick tips video, because there are no quick tips. Nothing is simple, nothing is straightforward, so I think it's honestly really unrealistic to offer like practical tips on how to deal with anxiety and depression, because that advice just completely fails to even scratch the surface of why you are feeling so anxious and depressed in the first place. And it also fails to address why that depression and anxiety is ruining your weight loss attempts or causing weight gain because of shitty food choices, binges, or just like emotional constipation. It's a real thing. So I have experienced paralyzing anxiety and really crushing depression far too often for my relatively short life. But social anxiety, performance anxiety, panic attacks, breakdowns, breakups, the whole shebang. And I have experienced firsthand how these types of emotions are incredibly capable of causing you to gain astronomical amounts of weight or stalling your weight loss. I battled with my weight and numbing addictions for over a decade, and it was a pattern of gaining and losing and gaining and losing, all because of emotional distress and binges. But before I get into the emotional issues, I do want to make sure that we are on the same page nutritionally speaking. If you're not eating enough calories, if you're not eating real food, if you're not ingesting adequate carbohydrates, if you're not drinking enough water or getting enough regular sleep, your brain cannot operate well. You should expect to feel depressed and anxious and despondent and hopeless and unmotivated. Also, when we're talking about nutrition, you have to consider where that food is coming from. What do you think happens to animals in a slaughterhouse? If you guess that they are petrified and shitting themselves from anxiety, you'd be right. That last surge of stress hormones is what you're inviting into your body. Also, how anxious do you think a dairy cow is? She spends most of the day with a painfully full udder, which in most cases is infected with mastitis. And the only reason she's producing milk in the first place is because she was forcibly impregnated and then had her newborn baby taken from her as soon as it was born. So if you're drinking cow's milk, you're literally drinking sad mommy pus juice. And that shit matters to your well-being. If you want more information on the type of lifestyle that I'm discussing here, please feel free to peruse the rest of my videos, especially the rest of the weight loss series. Okay, so depression and anxiety. Why are we feeling this way in the first place? It could be for a number of reasons. It's almost infinite, but here are some really common ones. We feel judged by everyone around us. We feel inadequate. We think that we have to be or look a certain way in order to be happy, accepted, or lovable. We believe our lives would be better if we were thinner or better looking or richer, which creates a huge amount of expectation and fear and sense of inadequacy, which turns into self-judgment and sabotage. We are living in a society of scarcity. We're never good enough. enough. We never have enough time. We never have enough money. We never get enough sleep. We never have enough help. We never have enough willpower. We never have enough of what we need. We are terrified of failing and being rejected for it. We are terrified of exposing our real selves to the world and being rejected for it. We are trying over and over and over again to live up to other people's expectations for our lives. It's shit that we don't want, but we're told that we should want it. Because it's like being an accountant is a great profession, Jennifer. Why do you break your mother's heart? Or possibly your life is both frantic and depressing. If you're living in a shithole, working a job that you hate, if you're surrounded by complaining coworkers, if you spend all day indoors, if you have a family of controlling, judgmental assholes, you have good reason to feel depressed. If you are trying to fit 1,001 things into every single day so that you can be successful and happy and prove to everyone that you are worthy of love, then yes, I would expect you to be anxious. And you're not going to become undepressed or unanxious until you address these problems and these thought patterns that cause it in the first place. These types of changes are best made in conjunction with lifestyle and dietary changes to support emotional stability. Making huge changes in your life, like switching careers or deciding to be the real you in public. Moving away from your family or deciding to finally end the relationship with your partner who you just don't want to be with anymore. Or making major life decisions that other people, important people in your life, consider unacceptable. It is disgustingly hard. It's freaking terrifying and painful. But you know what's harder and more terrifying is wasting your entire life, all of your best years, living for other people's expectations. Not allowing yourself to be happy because you're scared that people will judge what makes you happy. I had binge eating disorder, I had bulimia, I had panic attacks all the time. I'd get so worked up about just leaving my house and running errands that half the time I would just crumble into a crying little heap on the floor and end up not going. I felt fat, I felt ugly, I felt like I was wasting my life. I was so goddamn depressed. And I hated myself for all of it. And when I realized that I was living for other people's expectations, I tried to turn inward and look and see what made me happy. But I had no idea what really made me happy because I had gotten that so mixed up with what I thought other people would find acceptable that I didn't know myself anymore. I couldn't tell the difference between what I wanted and what I thought I was supposed to want. And I had to learn myself so that I could be true to myself. I had to figure out who I was before I could honor that person. And I had to let go of all of those external pressures that were telling me who I was supposed to be. Because the fear of not living up to those external pressures was creating my anxiety. You know, the list of expectation that I carried was so long, and facing it was awful and sad and painful and crippling and nauseating. You know, I was supposed to live close to my family. I was supposed to love my family. I was supposed to work full time. I was supposed to wear cute, stylish clothes. I was supposed to have clear skin. I was supposed to go out drinking and stay up late with people my own age. I was supposed to have friends. I was supposed to be liked by other people. I was supposed to have a man interested in me at all times to prove that I was a worthy and desirable person. I was supposed to always be positive. I felt like I was suffocating. And the whole time, my true self, who I had just completely lost contact with, was in there screaming at me, "What the fuck are you doing? Who are these stupid motherfuckers you are pretending to agree with simply for the sake of having company? Why are you living in a place that is freezing and has horizontal rain? Why are you giving away pieces of yourself to people that haven't earned the privilege?" This is where anxiety comes from. When you're living a life that you know, on some level, ain't working. It's not working. It never worked, and it ain't ever gonna work. You know, On some level, I knew it, but I didn't want to know it. And then I would end up having panic attacks about like stupid, trivial shit like running errands. Not because running errands is scary, but because I was already incredibly anxious, and that would just tip me over the edge and provide the external reason. Hey Lily, this is why you're anxious, because you have to go run errands. See? Focus on this. So you can see that I could have like troubleshooted and really worked on de-stressing my errand running routine and taking all of those, practical tips for managing my anxiety around running errands. But that would have been fucking futile, because even though I was freaking out about running errands had nothing to do with the deeper problem. While trying to avoid my anxiety, I would get so frantic that the only way that I knew to control or stop the panic was through drugs and alcohol and cutting myself and binging. And those behaviors never stopped. They could not be controlled until I addressed the underlying issue, until I listened to the real anxiety, to the real fear, to the outrage and the disappointment and the shame that I felt every minute of every day, all the time. When I learned to start listening to those feelings without being shit scared of them, they guided me towards my true self. They taught me what I really wanted for my own life. I got really honest about how I needed to shape my life and what really, truly cultivated a sense of happiness and contentment and inspiration in me, while I also surgically removed all of that depressing shit out of my life. The unfulfilling jobs that woke me up at 4 a.m. had to go. The boyfriend that always left me feeling shitty about myself had to go. The cold climate, not working for me. The mom that couldn't respect my boundaries or sense of self needed a serious relationship adjustment. I'd spend hours and hours making lists of what I wanted, what I needed to change, and I would refine those lists over and over and over again as I worked towards learning myself and what my true desires and needs were. And then I started working towards them, being very mindful to look far into the future. If I had created this huge list, this huge stack of shit Lily needs to change, and I thought, okay, I'll have this done by next week, sounds good, I would have crumbled and probably had heart palpitations. You don't have to just up and quit your job the next day. You don't have to leave all of your shit and move to Panama to start over, because that reeks of outrun your problems delusion. But you can make a 5-year plan. In 5 years, I want to live somewhere warm where I can sleep with my windows open year round. In 5 years, I want a career that fulfills me and aligns with my principles and allows me creative expression. In 5 years, I want to have a really great relationship with my healthy, vital, strong body. And 5 years is a lot of time. It gives you the opportunity to change directions if you need to. If you start off and you realize, well, hey, this isn't really working for me, so I'm going to make a little adjustment and see how it feels over here. And no, that's not quite it, so we'll go this way for a while. And you just find out what feels good to you. Taking the pressure off like that, but still working towards my goals, gave me the optimism and sense of proactivity that I needed to create hope. Doing the inner work of becoming more in touch with myself, more sure of my worth, and more boundaried in my relationships gave me resilience. Knowing myself, having compassion for myself, gave me a deep sense of connection and taught me the empathy that's required to genuinely connect with other people as well. And that, my dears, is the recipe for rising above your depression, for ending anxiety, and for recovering from disordered eating patterns and aiding weight loss. Hope, resilience, connection. When you feel hopeful, when you have resilience, when you are honestly connected to yourself and others, anxiety cannot build because you feel it, you know you can deal with it, you know how to process it and let it move through you and away. When you feel hopeful, when you have resilience, and when you are honestly connected to yourself and others, you cannot sink into indefinite depression because you feel it. You're not scared of it. Feelings of sadness or hopelessness are not forever. And you know how to use connection as a safety rope to pull yourself out of it. When you have hope, resilience, and connection, you are no longer ruled by depression and anxiety. You no longer have to run away from them. You no longer have to numb your feelings through food or wine or drugs or Netflix. Eating reasonable portions of healthy food until you're comfortably full is easy. Actually, chewing your food becomes a natural habit. Being in tune with yourself enough to actually feel when you are full is natural. And choosing foods for their nutritional value instead of their comfort value is a no-brainer. And thus, weight loss becomes a natural side effect of greater contentment. And that contentment is a symptom of hope, resilience, and connection. Aspects that you have purposefully cultivated in your life. So I know all that sounds great. It's all like high, lofty, and wonderful. But I'm also fiercely aware of how difficult it is to actually implement these types of practices into your life, especially when you're currently enmeshed in these awful mental patterns. Being able to realize that it's happening, catch it, and stop it can feel almost impossible when you're just starting. So I would like to do a few follow-up videos about anxiety, depression, and weight loss, or just anxiety and depression. And for those videos, I would like you all to provide some anxiety-provoking scenarios that you might be personally dealing with right now, so that I can offer you guys some more practical advice and show you how you can actually talk yourself through it or work through it yourself. So if you feel comfortable sharing, you can either leave a comment below or you can send me an email at legitnutritionhawaii@gmail.com. And just as with the weight loss series stories, I will not be responding to individual emails. There's simply too few hours in the day for me to do that on top of everything else. But any email or comment that you leave will be kept strictly anonymous when I make the videos, so go all out. Alright, you guys, I genuinely hope that this has been helpful. Please give this video a thumbs up if it has been, and don't forget to subscribe below if you're not already. Until next time, make better choices for yourself and for who ends up on your plate, and take really, really, really good care. Only reason I know what inertia is because it's in the theme song to Bill Nye the Science Guy.